Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sathology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means the study of science, Sathology means the science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means the science of fake life imagination or study of fake life imagination. We are living in a very difficult times where the natives are struggling more and more to express themselves about their faith, and a lot of different types of attacks have been happening over them. Uh, the majority of this blame goes to the Western academic system, where they are still not being taught the real history, whether it's India or any other country. And most of the academic systems are invariably connected to either Britain, France, Spain, or USA, the Western world. So today we have a very, very special guest, a civil servant, and we are going to talk about the presence of native or Hindu uh, goddess. I would say Hindu goddess, it will be wrong word to say, but a goddess for all of us, Durga, mother for all of us, divine mother across India. And it's a beautiful way to see a culture prevalent all over India, and not only just India. In my last book, I have also captured Gold, Glory, and God. I've also captured Durga being worshipped in southern France. You'll see Sarai Kali matching exactly like Attashula Prarane, Khadaga Khetaka Dharani, like the with the 8 arms I've seen in France. I've covered that in South America. In Europe, it's called Inanna and Ishtar. Same forms, Inanna. And I was shocked to know in my last show that Inanna is nothing but Anahita. And all over the world. And in fact, there's one verse in Mahabharata called Durge Kantara Vasini, and which means that she resides in very difficult places. And Patale Vasisi, Danava. And she also there in Patal, which was, if you look at Mahabharata, the entire Patal is referred to as South America because it's opposite side of India, exactly opposite side. So I have very, very special guests. Without delay, let us welcome Sri Rajesh Kumar Singh. He's a traveler, photographer, and historian. Namaste, Rajesh ji.
Namaste, Aditya ji. It's nice to see you again on the platform of Satyology. And I'm equally delighted to meet all my friends and audience, learned people, time and again. As you said, it's time again to rekindle our interest, our knowledge in our heritage. And though I will be taking a lot of examples from Indian context only, in no way it is limited to India. It's only to show that in India itself, there is so much of manifestation in different parts and in different forms, and we may not be aware of each of them. So, as you said, that today we will be talking about the mother goddess, and mother goddess takes care of everybody, irrespective. She is goddess for divine mother is the goddess for all in the world. And that's what has been our concept when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or any other form. So I will start with my presentation as I do.
Before you start, I'll just add one thing. Like some people say that the Murti or deity is not able to protect herself, but it is our job to protect them, isn't it? People who are serving them.
Aditya ji, we are surviving till date. That is because of the Almighty only.
That's right.
Murti is our way to bring her or him near us. And in Sanatana Dharma or ancient traditions or native people, what you call, there is no bar how one can worship the supreme consciousness. In our culture, there is no bar. And that's why you see different manifestation. And this is the most liberal kind of thinking which has helped survive the people. So we would be talking of a very special form of mother goddess. As we all know, in our Upanishad, we call our father as God, Pitridevo Bhav. Matridevo Bhav means mother is the goddess. And in the Rig Veda itself, in the Devi Sukta, there is a Rishika. Rishika means a female Rishi. though I don't have to say it's a female-istic, but just to explain that in Indian culture, there is no differentiation between male and female empowerment from the ancient time. And the Rig Veda itself in the Devi Sukta, something which has been said, Sukta means, Ukt means said, Su means in a proper manner, in a better way, Devi Sukta. So Risika Vag, who is the daughter of Ambarni, and Bagambarni, she says that I am the whole pervading power, and she describes herself. So here, when she describes herself, it doesn't mean she's talking about her narrow ego self. She's talking about what we call Advait. That is, there is no differentiation between the supreme consciousness and the manifestation in the world, whether it's in the form of human or other creatures, bird, animal, anybody. So continuation of that tradition we see later on in our scriptures. I mean, we have a lot of Puranas. Purana means old. So we have a lot of treatises. One of them is Markandeya Purana, in which in Devi Mahatmya, in 700 verses, the importance of goddesses described. And it's described there. I mean, you would be surprised, those you are not aware, that all great gods combine their divine forces to create an invisible power, Shakti. Shakti means power, that is unequivocally feminine, and she is also popularly called in Durga. And even back in those times, this great truth had been realized by Indian thinkers and seers that the supreme consciousness has both male and female manifestation. And a particular aspect of this mother goddess, which is Durga, Bhavani, Parvati, Uma, is known as Mahishasura Mardini. Mahish means buffalo, Asur means demon, and Mardini means one who kills or tramples her. So now, as I have been sharing with you, it's my pleasure that when I travel to the current geographical boundary of India, we see from the very ancient period, this concept or all other concepts, precisely here I would be talking about Mahishasur Mardini, being manifested in different parts of the country. You go any place in different forms. And that is my interest to share it with you. This manifestation is there in different forms worldwide also, but in India, you see it in a very, very prominent form. And here on the screen, I have taken a place which is in Lalitpur district in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is a state in North India. Here you can see the arrow points here. It is on the boundary of the Madhya Pradesh, another state that is in North Central India. And on the banks of the river Betwa here, you see there are a number of caves have been, rock-cut caves have been carved from chiseling. And this date to what we call the classical period or the Gupta period, who ruled at that time during a majority of the North Indian part here. And they built many temples. Unfortunately, most of the structural temples are in poor condition. Either they have been damaged totally or partial damage, but none have survived here. But in rock-cut caves, what happens? They are in secluded place, like one example which I am showing here, you can see here, Mahisha Durga wearing a crown. She has a trishul, and with one leg she is trampling this demon who is shown here in the animal form. Now, this is not the only place in North India where in rock-cut caves you would see. You go to another district just southwards, Vidisha district, modern district, there is Udayagiri caves. I have already talked about it in detail in my first lecture when I was talking about temples of the North India, other Dasavatar temple. So in Udayagiri caves also you will see a lot of manifestation of Mahishasur Mardini. Now it's not that only North India you see this manifestation. Let's move to southern part of the country. And we travel from this part, that is here from Uttar Pradesh, Lalitpur district, to south area, which is now in Chengalpattu district in Tamil Nadu state of the country. And again, you see, I don't know whether most of you know about this dynasty or not. It's Pallava dynasty, which ruled southern part of India for a long period, for many centuries. And maybe some of would be knowing it. And they carved many rock cut temples. And you see big rocks, a portion of it has been converted into pillar temples here. You can see here in the figure 1. And devotees in a particular period, I was lucky to travel that time, in a particular dress, have moved there to worship what is rock cut temples. There are many temples there, not one, but this is one temple where Mahishasur Mardini have been shown here in a very ferocious form, you can see. So figure 4 says how goddess is riding, and she is in full charged form attacking the demon Mahishasura here. So you see this representation, which is just 2 centuries later as compared to that in the Lalitpur district of the Devgarh Hills, is totally different. So there is no code here as such that you have to carve the gate. There are some guidelines, the scriptures do tell about them, but there is no strict foundation. An artist who are basically devotees, they carve it very passionately, and whatever they feel, they reflect it on the temples. So I have taken 2 examples from the rock cut temples where you can see Mahishasur Mardini, one in very simple form. Here you can see the demon is shown in the form of buffalo only, and goddess is equipped with few hands and very less equipment. You compare that representation here. She is riding a lion like a horse, is fully charged manner. Even demon is also ready to fight, and they are being supported by their other assistants here. And goddess has many arms here, and she is equipped with many ayuds, means weapons here. Now, having seen the rock cut temples, let's move to some structural temples. I have taken few samples only because of the paucity of time, but now we'll again go to modern period. The northern period in northern India, in Kullu district in Himachal Pradesh. This district is also famous for Dasahara. You all must be aware that recently only we have celebrated Vijayadashmi. Goddess comes here for 9 days. There is continuous fight with the demon. And then when she conquers him, then we celebrate Vijayadashmi. So this temple is Baseshwar temple. Of course, this is dedicated to Lord Shiva. But you think there are subsidiary temples along with the main sanctum and sanctorum. And here you see there is a temple in figure 2 from which I have taken this panel of the goddess. Here also you can see that goddess has pulled the demon and she is trampling his body with her right leg here. And she is just emerging from a buffalo body. This demon you can see in human form emerging from the buffalo body, which of course has been broken. This is an unfortunate thing. So this representation is on a structural temple, which is built of the stone. It's not a rock cut temple. However, the manifestation again differs. In all the 3, you won't find that they are all in the same commonality. There are certain common themes because theme is common. We are representing how goddess conquers a demon who was ill-treating the people at that time. And that time, the gods, all the gods, and like Vishnu, Brahma, and Mahesh, they came and created their unified energy into a feminine form, and that was converted into Durga, and then she takes this form. She is equipped with many equipments, weapons, and she kills Mahishasur here. So here you can see the Asura coming, Asura means demon, coming out of the body of the Mahisha, that is buffalo. Here you see in the first picture only buffalo. In the second depiction, you see The head is that of a buffalo, but the body is of a human. While in the third figure, you see once the initial form of buffalo is attacked by the goddess, by the Devi, she comes out in the physical form and fights. So while the theme is same, the devotee artist is free to do full justice to his creative urge and the way they form. So this is the most, I mean, this is one of the examples which I have talking that this ancient tradition, ancient culture, ancient religion, whatever we call it, it's a way of living, Hindutva. We give full freedom to use the creative urge of energy for the benefit of the society. Now let's move to another part of the country. We go against South India to another part. But before I talk about it, I'll say that Adi Shankaracharya, you would be aware by this time now, there have been a lot of talks on Satyology platform on that. He traveled throughout India and created mutts from south, then west, he went to north, then east in Odisha. So all the four directions he went, he established mutts, which are still continuing it. And so he created a devotional song, a Stotram, which starts with Aigiri Nandini, Nandita Medini, and then it ends in Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini, Ramyaka Pardini, Shaila Sute. So, hey goddess, I pray to you. Now you see this concept, this prayer, this belief in goodness continues in all forms. We have certain temples remaining, that's our luck. And we have this in our literature also. I talked about Rig Veda, and then I talked about Mother Goddess. As you know, that we believe that Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matri Rupena Sanstita. Namastasyai, 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 Namo Namah or Namah Namah. Means the goddess or the feminine form of the supreme consciousness, which is present in everybody, not in only a female or male. It's talking about Ya Devi, means the goddess, which is present Sarva Bhuteshu, all creatures in the world, not even human being. Sarva Bhuteshu, Bhut means creature. So in all the creatures, she is present in Matri Rupena, Sansita, in the form of a mother, she is there. So you see our concept, what kind of belief system we have, that all the creatures have certain components of this mother goddess, and we pray to that mother goddess. Namastasyai, 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 Namo Namaha. And one form is Shakti. So Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshi Shakti Rupena Sansita. Namastasyai, 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 Namo Namaha. So which the goddess which is present in all the creatures in the world in the form of Shakti, energy. Shakti means energy. Without energy, even Shiva doesn't move. Without Shakti, even Shiva is Shava. He cannot move. He's a dead body. Shava means dead body. So this Shakti is present in all the creatures, plant, animals, bird, any creatures which is there, and we pray to it. So this can, so you see that we are not destructive, but the same goddess to protect her children takes form of Mahishasur Mardini also. The same goddess takes form of Lakshmi also to take welfare, Saraswati also. And today we are seeing the manifestation of the goddess in the Shakti form in Mahishasur Mardini. So here we move to the southern state of Karnataka, and southern portion of that state we have Mysore district. And it's very interesting why I have taken that. In Kulu also you celebrate the Dasara festival, Vijayadashmi. And here also in Mysore, the festival of Dasara, which has just ended, is celebrated with a lot of devotion and passion. And there is Chamundi Hill, from where this procession takes place, and in the palace in the Mysore. And you can see a large statue of Mahishasura also there. So here you can see the art and architecture is like a jewel. This belongs to Hoysala dynasty, where stones have been treated like a jewelry. You see the minute carvings are there in each part of the temple. This is Keshwa temple from Somnathpura in Mysore district, and there are many other in Halebid, in Belur, and in other parts of Hassan district, adjoining district. You find a lot of temples were built during 13th, 14th century, 12th, 13th, 14th century in southern Karnataka, which was ruled by Hoysala. So irrespective of who was the ruler, you see, these deities have been carved. And Mahishasur Mardini here, you see, she is sitting comfortably. The buffalo she has conquered, and now she has trampled or pushed aside the demon which has come from this body. Now you all must be knowing that Bengal, and presently we have West Bengal. East Bengal has gone into Bangladesh, but earlier it was a Bengal. And in Bengal, the goddess is worshipped with great passion. As it happens in different parts of the country, in India, you will see that certain deities are worshipped with much more fanfare. So Bengal is also famous for a certain portion, a part of the geographical part of the Bengal is famous for brick and terracotta temples. Here we are in Kalna. Kalna is a place in Burdwan district of West Bengal, in eastern part of the country. There we have a brick temple with lot of, this photo I have taken from another temple, rooftop of another temple, though it's a medium-sized temple. And the doorway, you see the doorway has been carved profusely. Though no part of the temple is uncarved, you see it's carved profusely, the terracotta plaques. And there goddess Mahishasur Mardini is represented again with multiple arms and with many weapons, and her vehicle is charging on the Mahishasur, which has just come out of the buffalo body. So it's not that only in certain parts of the country Durga Puja, a 10-day celebration is celebrated. Durga is have been worshipped in all parts of the country, and the local fervor, local art, local crafts that has been manifested in representing the goddess. So here we see a beautiful temples. It's a temple complex where you have a lot of temples where Durga in Mahishasur Mardini form has been carved. Unfortunately, what has happened in many of the temples, the idols have been broken. It happened in North India to a large extent. In this part of the country, which was exposed to attacks from the western part, our temples and idols were destroyed. I have taken one example here. It's a medieval temple, temple belonging to 9th century, Gurjar Pratihara dynasty. There you can see it's a small temple near a Shiva temple. This large temple is dedicated to Shiva, and generally you will find Ganesha, Durga, they are represented in the Shiva temple, or there is a dedicated temple near the temple of the Shiva, if there is not her own temple. So here in Baroli, which is in Chittorgarh district, Chittorgarh is related to Rana Pratap. You must be knowing it, the brave king who fought for his motherland very bravely with Akbar. And for lifelong, he protected most part of the land. So in that Chittorgarh district in Rajasthan state, which is famous for brave warriors, we have a temple dedicated to Shiva, and nearby we have temples dedicated to Ganesha, Bhairava, and Mahishasur Mardini. Unfortunately, I just want to show that a lot of destruction has taken place. Though the idol is there in the Garbhagriha or the Sanctum Sanctorum, but you see, the face has been totally and brutally defaced and destroyed. Now, I have taken another example in northeast part of the country. So we are traveling in different parts of the country. We have been to Himachal, we have been to Uttar Pradesh, we have been to Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu in Mambalpuram. We went to Kalna in West Bengal, and now we are going to Shivsagar district in the eastern part of the Assam state. Assam state, you can see, is here, which is known as Upper Assam. This part is known as Upper Assam. So there in the Shivsagar district, you have a lot of temple complexes, Shivsagar, Gauri Sagar, Vishnu Sagar, and many others. And Sagar is nothing but large reservoir. So I have also emphasized this fact that in Indian tradition, nature has been preserved through divine integration with temple complexes. And that has helped in a large way to protect the natural resources. So here also I have not shown it, but the name itself is Shivsagar, and this temple is known as Shivadol. There is another temple dedicated to goddess Durga, which is known as Varidol, and then you have Vishnu Dol here. So near on the Shivadol, you see a lot of idols have been carved. And the same has been done on the other two temples, the Devi Dol and the Vishnu Dol. Here also, you can see the Mahishasur Mardini carved. Of course, the demon is totally, it's it cannot be made out, but you can see the goddess fiercely piercing the demon through a trident, and a number of arms are here. Now you just need to appreciate certain things here, that you go to any part of the country. I have taken few examples only. Again, I'm trying to emphasize that. You see there is a continuity in the belief system. There is a connect. And while there has been many attempts to create differences in us from the time immemorial, and that's what I'm showing through, mostly through the art architecture, which we can see for the at least 2200 years in this country, that these things have been represented in different parts of the country, and there is a great connect. So if I go, and that's what happened, if I go, I belong to Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, I have been residing mostly in Delhi. If I go to Tamil Nadu, if I go to Rajasthan, or Lalitpur here, or in Karnataka in Mysore, or in Assam, I certainly connect directly, even if I don't understand the local language, not to talk about the English and Hindi, which is mostly understood. Even if I am going to that place, I see Mahishasur Mardini there, they connect, because this has been in our belief system. And that's why people have remained united here. And that's why you see that despite many efforts to destroy our culture and its visual forms, it has survived. And this temple was constructed during 17th century, during the reign of Ahoms. By this time, you all must be knowing about Ahom rulers. There has been few talks on this channel. Aditya ji had brought many experts, and a dear friend of mine who has taken home. So they also have continued the tradition. However, in the mainstream or worldwide, most of us would not know about. the Ahom rulers, or the Pallava rulers, or the Hoysala rulers, or the Pratihara rulers, or the Parmara rulers. They all have contributed. They have ruled there. Many of them, like Pallava and Hoysala and Ahom, for 300 years or 400 years, or in this case in Ahom, 600 years. And there has been communication between different parts of the country. The believers, the faith would continue to travel because pilgrim system was very strong in India, and so does it now. We all travel here. I mean, maybe that's the tradition which we imbibe. I have also been traveling here because that kind of tradition has been there. So we are open to people, we are open to ideas, we assimilate different things, we welcome people, we don't kill them, even if they don't believe in our system. We listen to them, and then we express ourselves in beautiful ways as we can do. Now I'll be showing you two another examples for temples where the sanctum would not have the original idols, they were destroyed. But people, the believers, the priests, the local community would have preserved few of them, few of the idols. They are not in the museums, they are in these temples. These temples are protected monuments, but they are live temple also. So here I moved to a hilly state in northern part of the country, in Uttarakhand. This is Almora district, where there is a temple of 10th century in Katarmal. It's a beautiful place. Even as a tourist you go, and all the divinity attracts. Divinity is really divine. The temples have been built in beautiful places. You can see the ranges from here. You sit here and you can sit for hours. This temple is dedicated to Lord. I will not say Lord. I'll say Bhagwan Surya. There has been an attempt to create differences sometime by certain people, that those who believe in certain gods or Bhagwan, they don't believe in others. That's not true. That I have shown through my lectures also, through other talks also, you would have come to know that here a temple which is dedicated to Lord Bhagwan Surya has an idol of Mahishasur Mardini also, Durga. And there are many others which are kept here. And you can see there is a red cloth which is written is Jai Mata Di. Means Jai Jai He Mahishasur Mardini, or Jai Mata Di. Mata is nothing but mother. So hail to mother. So the belief system has been strong, even despite a lot of attacks during different periods. We have tried to preserve and protect our belief system through different means. And of course, many people would have sacrificed for it. So this is an example where the original idols are not there, but local community has preserved the idol of Mahishasur Mardini along with Surya, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu. There are many there. Now, just to show another example, it's not in Uttarakhand only. We again move to Bengal, which is deeply related with the Shakti worship. There in Bankura district, near Kolkata, some 200 kilometers west from Kolkata, the capital of the West Bengal, we have Bankura district, which is famous for terracotta. Like Bardhaman, we saw Kalna temple was there. Prior to that, 200 years ago, in Bishnupur, you have a lot of terracotta temples. There also you can see Mahishasur Mardini. I have not included that here. But what I am trying to show, there is a brick temple here. We have divided our country in modern state, but it's a place which had a typical culture where brick temples will build, whether you go to Orissa, you go to Jharkhand, you go to Bihar, you go to Bengal, you go to what is known as Bangladesh or Tripura or Assam. There were a continued tradition where different rulers of the same belief system would rule, and they would build lot of temples for themselves and for the people. Of course, some of them were attacked. So here also in the sanctum, you will find that the goddess, the original statue is not there, original idol is not there, but a statue of Mahishasur Mardini is being placed there here, and it is being worshipped. So there is nothing like a local community or the original people, which Aditya Ji has been saying, the native people having a strong belief in their system. And this is yet another example, not only museums, but even local people, they preserve their culture in a much better way and maybe nearer to the local tradition. So it's a live temple, even though this is a piece which would have been recovered from another place, and worship is being offered. I'm not going into iconography anymore because you can again see the buffalo demon now from that body of the Mahish or the buffalo, the demon has come, then goddess has held his hair by one hand and is attacking with another weapon. Now, not only through architecture or sculpture, this theme has been represented. I have shown even in the case of the Bhagwan Parasurama when I was taking this talk, or other also. We now move to another southernmost state of Kerala. Though, and why I'm talking about Kerala, though this particular mural painting of the goddess is located geographically in Tamil Nadu state, it belongs to Travancore rulers, and the Padmanabh Swami temple is now in Trivandrum. So their rule was not bound with this modern geographical boundaries. So even though this palace, which is also known as Padmanabh Palace, and this place is known as Padmanabhpuram. Padma means lotus, Nab means navel, and Puram means a city. And Padmanabh is nobody but Lord Vishnu or Bhagwan Vishnu. So here, this is the palace of the Travancore rulers. They used to rule the kingdom on behalf of Lord Vishnu. They won't treat themselves as a ruler. You would remember that in Ramcharitmanas, that is the story of Ram or Ramayana, it is described that Bharata rules on behalf of his elder brother Rama. So just to understand these things in a better way, that the Travancore rulers would not treat themselves as a ruler, they would rule on behalf of Bhagwan Vishnu. And there is a place, a tower, 3-story tower. The topmost portion of that is dedicated to Lord Vishnu, and this bed is for Lord Vishnu. Nobody would sleep here. The king would sleep a floor below. And all the 4 sides, you see, are profusely painted. And of course, our goddess, about whom the mother goddesses we are talking about, is she also has been represented here. Now you see, this representation is totally different from all other earlier representations. Here the head of Mahishasur is being shown. So it's, again, I'm trying to emphasize that it's not that what iconography or representation has been followed in North or Central India or even Karnataka need to be followed. The theme is same. She is nobody else but Mahishasur Mardini. But she is now standing, having vanquished the Mahishasur, the demon. And you can see her in full form with all her weapons and attributes. Now there are certain unfortunate things also which we shall be aware of. The challenges which we have faced and which may occur sometime. That's why we need to learn from history. And we need to understand the different aspects. I showed you 2 temples, one in Uttarakhand, Katarmal, another one Bahulara in Bankura district, where temples were almost intact from outside, at least in Katarmal, but the original idols were removed. Here, there is a temple out of many temples of the Gupta period. I talked to you that in Gupta period, I had taken one example from Lalitpur district and Udayagiri I talked about. They were rock cut temples so that you can uh, see, but the structural temples were demolished badly. Here you can see these temples, they were destroyed, and hardly, even though Gupta period is known as the classical period of the Indian art architecture, it was prosperous, flourishing, but the structural temples in Devgarh, in Bhumra, in Darra Mukundra, they are not in original form. And here you can see that these temples have been destroyed, and the piece which I have taken here from Mahishasur Mardani theme is now placed in a place in Allahabad, about 60-70 kilometers from there. And this was discovered by a passionate gentleman in 1930s. I have talked about him when I was taking talk on Bharhut, that how he would passionately go on weekends, that is Saturday, Sunday, when he would have free time, and collect the idols in different condition and would come and establish a museum. Now, at that time, he would not know that this piece belongs to which period or whatever it is, but he understood that this is an important picture. And here also you can see the initial representation which we saw in Devgarh Hills. The demon is only in buffalo form. So it also shows the evolution of art and architecture. But more importantly, why I have taken it is that we faced a lot of challenges where those who would not believe in our system and would attack, they would even destroy the temples, and they have already demolished most part of this temple, and we hardly have anything remained there. Few fragments which were recovered from here have been relocated in Allahabad Museum. Now, just to show you, we talked about sculptures, rock cut sculptures, stone temples, brick temples, terracotta plaques, paintings in Kerala. I'll just show you that how local material, whatever is available in abundance, could be used. So if you go to this part of our country, India, Rajasthan, you have a lot of marble quarries here. So of course, that place is famous for marble painting. Here you can see Goddess Durga. Of course, it was created in 19th century. Now it is located in Indian Museum in Kolkata. She is with Ganesha, her son, Kartikeya, another son, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. So the goddess not only vanquishes the demon, the evil, which of course now you can recognize her. The demon is slayed here, and he has come to fight the goddess in the physical human form. Goddess, the mount of the goddess is attacking the demon, and goddess is there with all her limbs and the weapons. So when she comes here, not only she vanquishes the evil, but she also bestows boons and takes care of the whole divinity or the whole world along with her daughters and sisters, daughters and sons. So in the end, I'll just again go back to West Bengal just to show you another craft. I have not talked about metal because the presentation would have been a bit longer. There have been bronze and other metal statues in different parts of the country. This is from Murshidabad, again in West Bengal, where you can see again the goddess is there with Ganesh, Kartikeya, Devi Saraswati, Lakshmi, and in the typical representation by which we recognize Mahishasur Mardani. So I'll conclude this presentation again emphasizing this, that Indian tradition is worship in good, and it praises winning of goodness over evilness, and it works for the welfare of the whole world. And that's why we talk about Vasudhaiva Eva Kutumbakam. Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. Vasudha means Prithvi, earth. The earth, the whole world, earth is whole world. Eva means is, Kutumbakam means our family. So with that, I ended my presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, namaste. And thank you so much for sharing this, because this is the first time we are seeing the, like, in one view, one presentation. It's like a good yatra for other people also. People who are from other countries who would like to visit them. All these places are accessible.
All these places are very much accessible. Even Devgarh, which is in Bundelkhand, it has good road, and I have been there 3 times. And it has an added benefit of having a beautiful place, and Dasavatar temple also, the first Sikhara temple. Assam is also, it has good roads. So all the places are very well connected.
And for the viewers, I can tell you, these are Rajesh ji's personal pictures, and he has taken from his own camera. He has traveled to these places, and he is telling us a story of these places. And I think this will go into the records of the Indian history books or Sathology, where we can actually see them, these books. And there's a coffee table book also you have published, isn't it, on these pictures?
I haven't published because I haven't got time for that. I keep on traveling, and then I get involved. But what you say that already this is my 10th chapter in the book Sathology, which is there, which anybody can see. Yeah. And you rightly said that India is such a diverse and lovely place. See, all goodness is thriving for so many years, and people, community, how they have fondly preserved these things, taking care of others also, those who have come from outside.
For Americans, the biggest attraction of India is not Indian business, but generally it's these kind of places. See, when you talk to him about India, then one place it really touches their heart is Varanasi. Beautiful, like this is one of the Rishikesh, Varanasi, Madurai, Srirangapatnam. These are the places which touches Americans' heart. And you'll be
Aditya ji, I would say that these are the popular places. I am myself from Varanasi. But if you go to Shiv Sagar, there is Gauri Sagar, there is Vishnu Sagar, and each would have 3 temples and beautiful carvings and a large reservoir. And you go through Kaziranga there. I mean, there is no place which is less popular. It's we who have not, I mean, when I say we Indians, I would say, not Americans, we would not have talked about these places in a way which they should have been talked about.
The same place would have been any other country. And like I always give an example of Vatican. It looks like such an empty place, looks like a shopping mall. But people talk about it. But if you go to India, every part of India is filled with a lot of spiritual inspiration.
These all are thriving. You go to Shiv Sagar, there are ladies, they are singing, they are praying. I mean, they have connect with the divinity. They have connect. It's not in isolated. And now what we have done, I did not show many statues from the museum. The museum has a lot of role to play, and I do bring them one piece from Bhumra I brought. That this is not the right way to preserve our culture. I mean, I showed you 2 examples, one from Katarmal in Uttarakhand and one from Bankura, that how local community had preserved them. Many times you keep on asking, is worship is being done here? They have also preserved. It's not only that only authorities can preserve.
And this is a very important aspect. Even in USA, a lot of Native American sacred sites have been destroyed and regularly destroyed. The recent case was 2020, where a border wall was built on top of a Native American shrine. Now, but India has done a better job in preserving the native culture, the original culture of the place. Even in Kochi, when I found out a Shiva temple built by Marthanda Varma on top of an existing Shiva temple, or not on top, uh, on the same place of an existing Shiva temple, and which was a very revealing and spiritual moment for me. And thank you to Arif Muhammad Khan ji, who had personally invited me as a guest for that temple. So, thank you, Rajesh ji. It's a pleasure, and I am sure the viewers would like to go to India to visit these places. Namaste.
Namaste. And I also believe the same, that they all will come and see India in its rich and diverse form. Thank you very much to
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Namaste.